Hey Faves, welcome to another episode of the Enrichment Talks. I'm your host, Bria V. Smith, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming negative thoughts. But before we get into our topic today, I want to check in. How are you feeling? How's the family? Comment below. I'm doing pretty good today. I have a jam-packed schedule of consultations and follow-ups, but I'm super excited to get the day started. Super excited. So this topic is one that is kind of personal for me because I am a recovering negative Nancy. So if you do know or if you don't, and on certain platforms I've discussed this and certain situations I've discussed that I battled depression and anxiety for many years. And not to say that, of course, I'm fixed, right? I don't like to discuss mental health in that fashion, but I am a lot better than I was 10, 15, even 20 years ago. And so I want to take you back to a time and a place where I was really unaware of a lot of things that I was doing and just kind of share with you. So I can remember that I used to be super, super, super negative. I mean, in every sense of the way, I was really, really, really negative and very toxic to those that were connected to me. So if I would see someone on the street, maybe they had on something that I would perceive as crazy or not together, I would nitpick and pick it apart and just have such a chuckle or laugh about it. I would encounter people and, just talk about just various different things. And every encounter, whether it was at work or personal, when I would share it with friends, family, my husband, it would just really be focused on the negative, how they were bad, how the situation was bad, just negative. And so this went on for a while, for years. So there was one particular time or situation where I was, having one of my sharing moments with my husband. And at that time, I don't even think we were married. So we would have either been engaged or maybe this was before the engagement, but I remember it clearly. Maybe not the exact date, but I remember it. I remember because I remember how it made me feel. So I was sharing with him, how you share with your friends or your significant other. So I was just letting him know how it went down, Fave. I was just giving it to him like real deal, how I felt. And so he was like listening, he was listening how men are, they listen to you or whatever. And so I was kind of expecting for him to continue to listen. But he kind of interrupted me. So that, number one, that interruption made me feel some type of way. Like, I'm not finished with my story. You don't interrupt me. But he interrupted me. And then he paused and he kind of looked at me. He was like, you are like being so negative. You are always talking about somebody. You always have something negative to say. Always something negative. And, at first I was taken aback, like, wait a minute, like, where is this coming from? Like, are you having a bad day? I'm sharing with you something that is, at the time trying to feed that negative need. And you are stopping me to tell me that I'm being negative. I don't want to hear that. You could keep that to yourself was my attitude. So we wound up getting into like an argument. I, deflected. I denied, and you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a very positive person. I'm this, I'm that. So in hindsight and a reflective moment, can we thank God, just thank goodness for people that will hold us accountable and call us out in our stuff. And they're like, this is what it is. Take it how you feel, whatever. But I'm so thankful for that moment because it allowed me to really sit and think. And I really reflected. I think I reflected on that thing for 2 weeks to a month. Every time I would, get ready to share something or think about something, I really would reflect. And do you know, like after that reflection period, I realized like the guy was 100% correct. Like every thought, everything I would speak, if it was like something for a laugh or a giggle or something, like 85 to 90% of the stuff that I was talking about was negative. And so what do we do when we realize that we're being negative? Like for me, I was in a place at that particular time that even once I realized that I was being negative, I was okay with it. But as I began to work on myself, work on my healing, understand just different things about my overall mental health, because I think at that particular time I was in a place of just brokenness. I've mentioned, I think on a previous episode, that I had like a very strained relationship with my mother. So at the time I still was kind of dealing with like abandonment issues and different things related to that relationship. I didn't have the best relationship with my father. And so all of these different personal things, I was allowing them, because I don't believe in making excuses for bad behavior, but I was allowing those things to make me a person that I didn't want to be. So what I wound up doing is I wound up just taking time to understand how to change my thinking, and really like putting in the work. So if you are a person that you think you're just always positive, that is great. And share this with someone that you think can benefit from it. That's okay. But I want everyone that's listening that hears this to really stop and think about, how often are you negative? How often are you talking about someone, whether it's gossip, whether it's to a friend, about a situation? How often are you negative? Like really think, because I'm sure that if you think, it's more common than you realize. And so if you are a person that's sitting here right now and you feel like I've parked on your street and you want me to detour and go somewhere else, I will not. I want you really to figure out, one, what is the root cause? And you may not figure out that in a day. You may not figure out what makes you feel or have those negative thoughts in a week. It really is like a self-discovery and a soul-searching type scenario. So those types of things take time. And so, but I do encourage you to really look at if you're negative, and if you are being negative, why. So, of course, the point of the enrichment talks is I don't want to just talk about the bad. I want to give you some things that work for me, that help me basically move past negative thinking, negative conversation, and just being an overall like negative person, because our thoughts really are who we become. And so if you're having a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of negative conversations, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but basically you're a negative person, in the sense that you probably are transferring that type of energy and feelings to others that you probably love and care about. So what do we do to overcome negative thoughts? How do we stop them? So I think the first thing is realizing that you are being negative and that you are having negative thoughts. If you're probably like many people, including myself, this is a day-to-day process, a week-to-week work. It's not something overnight that will happen. And it's not something that forever, once you're just positive, you don't have any negative thoughts. But trust me, from a person that's like 10 plus years into this, when it comes to overcoming different things, it does get better. So realizing that you're being negative is the biggest thing. Your thinking is so powerful. And so sometimes with reflecting, you will realize that a lot of times some of these thoughts are really self-reflection. So when I really thought about why I was talking about certain people or why certain things made me feel good when I was talking about them from a negative standpoint, it really was that I wasn't happy with myself. I see someone and I don't like their hair and I'm tearing down their hair. It's really because I'm not happy with my hair. I'm not happy with, something going on in my own life. And so instead of correcting what was going on with me, it was really easy to reflect and to basically pick apart some other person, some innocent person walking or that I had encountered. So recognizing and realizing that this is happening is so powerful. So that's number one. Number two, I am big on mental health. So some situations, depending on your thoughts and depending on once you realize they're happening and why they're happening, I believe in prayer and meditation and different things of that nature. But I also believe that therapy is okay and seeking professional help and counseling is okay too. They actually should a lot of times go together, even though that may not be sometimes a popular thought, like, oh, I don't need anybody in my business. But sometimes you do need someone to help you through your business. So the second point is sometimes it is bigger than you and you talking to a friend or a family member. Sometimes you need counseling or therapy to really work through the underlying issues. Okay. The next thing is to challenge those thoughts. So just understanding, okay, you're having the thought, and all the time it's not talking about people. I can remember being pregnant, and I was just so paranoid, which I know it's, from living life. I do understand that as a new mom or as a mom, when you're pregnant, you do have worries about this little person that you're carrying, but it can become really unhealthy if it spills over to your every waking moment and movement where you're thinking about what's going to go wrong and what could happen. So challenging those thoughts when they come in your head, like, okay, this bad thing is going to happen, stopping and saying, okay, here we go. It's just these negative thoughts. I'm being negative, and try to counteract them with a positive thing. Well, that's probably not going to happen, but in my brain, something positive, this is what I hope will happen. And applying that understanding and that idea to every negative thought. When the negative thought happens, pause, recalibrate, give yourself a positive thought that aligns with that. And over time, this will get easier. At first, I can remember laughing to myself. I'm a random person, if you don't know me on a personal level. So I can remember just randomly chuckling to myself, because at first I thought it was a little bit weird, even lame. Okay, I'm trying to rethink something that I've already thought. But if you work at it, I promise it makes sense. It gets better. So the next thing is practicing gratitude in situations where you're having a bad day and you're feeling negative. And these things also, I want to say this, it's professional as well as personal, because a lot of times if you're negative in your personal life, you're negative in your professional life. And I know that for a fact from experience. But practicing gratitude is a powerful thing. It has impacted my life in so many ways that I honestly don't have time to name the ways that gratitude has changed me and changed the way I think and interact with people. Practicing gratitude is why I am the positive person that people see and that you get to interact with now on a day-to-day. If you work with me, if you're a client, you know that I do not like negative talk. I will redirect you really fast. Okay, that could happen, but let's stay positive. And I give that to, of course, a lot of self-work, therapy, but more so practicing gratitude. So that is, to me, the biggest thing that you could do for yourself. If you can't talk to anyone, if you're at this place, don't feel like you need to talk to anyone, practicing gratitude really will help your brain learn how to basically push away negative thoughts, because it's really hard to be negative when you're like, I am so, you know what? My car's in the shop right now, but I am so thankful that I have a car, and I'm thankful for this and I'm thankful for that. It is so hard to really go negative when you're really like practicing gratitude and you're in a place of gratitude. All right. And the next thing I would say is focusing on understanding that you're in a human experience. So by no means, if you follow everything that I've given you points on and we've talked about, and you're still having negative thoughts, oh, you know, I'm a negative person, or I'm not a negative person, but you're saying negative things. If you understand that you are having a negative thoughts, that is powerful, just powerful as practicing gratitude, because you understand that something is wrong and you want to try to move past it. So the human experience is one that is full of flaws and errors. And so give yourself grace. You are not going to overcome negative thinking in 1 day, 2 days, not even 2 months. This is a day by day. Even now, as positive as I am, sometimes I think my anxiety may take control and I can start teetering down a negative path. But because I have put in so much practice and work, it's a little bit easier to get back on the right road to say, nope, I'm not going there. This is how it's going to be. I'm going to think positive. And honestly, in most cases, that positive thinking has a positive result. Like literally those situations are never as bad as the worst thoughts that we can create in our heads. They're never that way. So instead of taking yourself to those emotions, thinking positive and gratitude allows you to basically stay in a positive space. So I want to leave you with a quote, because you know I love my quotes. This quote is from Curtis Tyrone Jones, and it says, sometimes in order to move the mind forward, we must shift the gears out of reverse. And so that means that if you're stuck in a place of negative and negativity, that you shift yourself from that. But just like how you have to shift a car into park or drive, it is work. You're going to have to literally make the first move to shift yourself out of that negative thinking into positive. Okay. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me, little old me. If you're on social media, connect with me on Instagram at Bria_thinknew. I'm on Facebook, Bria.thinknew, or you could just search Bria V Smith. Like, share, subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. And until next time, be kind to others. And I also want to share, let go of yesterday, focus on tomorrow, but dream big today.